Alright guys, I built myself a 24'x48 garage, and on today's show I'm finally going to finish up the side metal and trims. As we go through the video, I'll point out all the trims and explain where they go. Trim number one is a grade board trim. It's just like a fascia, only it's 10.5 inches. I run my house wrap down to the bottom of the grade board, install this color match trim, and it adds a nice detail. Trim number two is my garage door trim. I use a sliding door trim for that. I think it looks the best, and then I'll add a J trim later, which I will show you. I made myself a sill pan. Got that all done. I'm going to put sealant on the bottom of it, and then it will just sit in here like so. And then my door will sit on that. Worked out pretty good. The door I chose to use was a Plico Series 92, which is a thermally broken door. I love these doors. They're not cheap, but it will last a lifetime, and they are super easy to install because they come square and they stay square. The next trim that I'm installing is FJ trim. This goes at the top of your wall. It accepts your side steel, and it also accepts your soffit. Alright guys, we are snapping our wainscot chalk lines. My finished floor is 7 inches above the bottom of the grade board. That's where I start my bottom trim. I measure up, make a mark at 37 inches because I have 1 inch for my square base, 36 inches for my wainscot, and that's where I want to snap my line so I can get my steel measurement. At that line, I set my laser to 0, then I can mark that all the way around the building, snap chalk lines, and I have a nice level starting line. Alright, so I got that all marked on these two sides. So now I'm just going to snap a line down the side. So on this longer side, this is 48 feet. I marked it at both ends and in the middle, put a screw in the middle, so I'll pull from the middle so I don't get any sag. I mean, typically with these chalk lines you can pull them nice and tight, but it's easy enough just to make marks every 24, 32 feet so you get nice and straight. I have my FJ up, so I'm going to measure up into the FJ down to my line. I'm going to do that in a few spots just to make sure there's nothing crazy going on, and that'll be the measurement for my side steel. So we're going to start putting metal up. You can see I have my line snapped, and now we're going to put a 2x4 up instead of our wainscot trim so I don't have to worry about scratching it. This works really, really good when you're doing it by yourself. Alright, I started putting metal up. I'm using textured bright white. Oh, but these Asian beetles are insane, people. Insane. I don't know if you can see them. I'm gonna have to go get some spray. They're all over. Look at all of these bugs, man. This is disgusting. Asian beetles. Trim number 5 is J trim, and I run this around all my walk doors, windows, and my garage doors. All right, it's amazing when there's no bugs how fast you can do this. So I was on the other side of that first window and I started about an hour ago. This board right here, if you are gonna be self-building, I mean, even if you're a contractor, I do this still. I put this board, I marked my wainscot, and then I put this board just below that chalk line. And it is so nice to be able to slide that piece of steel up there, just set it down, not worrying about scratching the wainscot trim, and it works so good. Then I just leave the bottom screws out, slide my wainscot trim in tight, and it's amazing, guys. That little tip right there has saved me so much time and effort that I do it every time. But all right, guys, we're gonna slip this J trim in along this door right there. And I have found that doing this after the steel is up is a little bit easier and a little more enjoyable, less chance of scratching something. See how easy that was to slide that in there? And then I have a J filler that's gonna go in here, and then I'll put a screw out here. This is a custom piece of trim that I'm having Delta Metals make me. It's basically a J with two hems, no back, and I'm calling it J trim filler, so that will pressure fit in to that J trim. So you can see how nice that looks, nice and boxed out. This is just a compression fit. So another awesome thing about this is when I slide this in there, it squares this up. Sometimes this J trim kind of has a little back angle and there'll be a gap here, but by placing this in here, it squares all this up. It just makes it look amazing. Trim number 7 is my wainscot trim or double angle. I slide that in after I have my side steel up. And then trim number 8, I measure down the required amount and put my square base in. My wainscot will sit on the square base and tuck up underneath the wainscot trim. All right, so I'm gonna start cutting my gable end pieces, and I have this cool tool. Tough Trade has sent me quite a few different tools, and this is one of them. It's your angle finder, so it's got profile of a rib. So it lays over there like so. Make your first mark over there, set your pitch or your degrees that you want, and then it'll give you the right setup. All right, trim number 9 and 10. 9 is your soffit. It slides into your FJ and then gets stapled into the fascia board. And then you have your trim number 10, which is your fascia, which tucks under the drip edge or upper corner trim, and then trims out the bottom of your soffit. All right, guys, we are finishing this up. I got my last piece of corner trim to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the top of the wainscot trim to my FJ, which is 100, and then I'm going to come up here and measure, and that's 105. So I need those two measurements, 100 and 105. All right, so this is my 100-inch mark right here. My 105-inch mark is here, 3/4 inches in, and then I make sure my 412 intersects that 105 and 3/4 inch in. I'm gonna leave about 1.25 inch tab here. I'm gonna leave 3/4 inch. I'm gonna bend that over to 90. I'm leaving a tab up here to bend over the top. Alright, so you can see I did a little bend over there. A little rounded that edge over there, which just looks nicer than a cut edge. That'll slide up into my FJ on the sidewall. That will slide up into the FJ on the end wall. You can see our trim underneath goes up underneath our wainscot, sits on it. So what I do is I order one piece. I cut off one end for the bottom, so I have a clean cut here. And then I use the other clean cut for down here, and then go up. See that detail up there. The last trim I need to install for this building to be completely done is, which is not necessary, is this J filler. I had experimented with some trim, making it in my trailer, trying to figure out a way to make this more waterproof and really just look a lot better. And this is what I came up with. Slightly underbent, so when I put it in, I have to squeeze it, and then it's a pressure fit, compression fit. So we're gonna go ahead and put those in, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm still gonna put a little sealant on this little corner here that we always do. So you can see where my sealant is right there, and I've made a really solid cut there. I mean, it's right up against the window there, and it doesn't look bad. However, I'm gonna slide that J trim filler in there, and then I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And it looks a lot better. This only works if your J trim is not near the corner of your window, so you have to lay it out right. And you need to extend your top J over, and that acts as a cap for this J trim filler. And then I run it down to here. And this is awesome because when I put this in there, it holds that J trim square, and it just finishes it off real nice, and it's gonna help keep that wind-driven rain out of there. So I've got that in there, and I haven't had a problem when testing with those coming out. If you do, you could always get just a rivet at the top and the bottom, and that would hold that in there perfect. So I haven't had to do that yet, but I've been watching this. Now that I have it on a building that is here at home, I'll be able to watch a little bit closer, but I don't think I'm gonna have a problem. All right, guys, so I got this in on both sides of this window. It looks amazing, worked out great. So I have 2 more windows on the back side, and then the exterior of this building outside of the final grading is done. So I'm pretty pumped. Only took me a little over a year. Pretty embarrassing. All right, guys, that's gonna be a wrap on today's video. Hopefully you found it useful. I have a couple more videos on this project as I finished out the inside, so I want to share that with you. And if you guys are interested, I'll do a full cost breakdown of this. This is a 24x48 full self build, so I can share those costs with you. But as always, we appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next video.